Happy Tuesday night. Welcome to a special edition of the Wolff Den presented by Win Again Academy. Great event tomorrow with Brandon Steiner of Steiner Sports and Willie Randolph of the New York Yankees. Check out winagainacademy.com. Mark Moyer doing some great things with his networking and informational events. Today we have a very special Wolff Den. It's a crossover episode with Mike and Rick from Fan Experience TV. Guys, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us finally.
Matt, it's an absolute pleasure to be on the show finally. And, you've always been a good friend of our show and can't wait to have you on in a half an hour. But let's get down to the business here. Thank you for having us on here.
So to set the stage, this is a crossover event. We're going to do a half hour with you guys here in the Wolff Den. We're going to talk about Fan Experience TV. We'll talk about playing the field. And then at 9 o'clock, in a half hour, I am going to join Fan Experience TV on your platform, and we'll talk some sports, and that'll lead into your guest for tonight, which is
No, you're the guest.
You're the guest.
You're the guest.
That's it.
It's you. It is you.
Junaid and Denise, great.
Hey guys.
So let's just tell everybody about who you are. Introduce yourself. Tell them who you are and what Fan Experience TV is.
So you want me to take it, Rick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
First.
All right. So my name is Mike Katos, and I am the founder of Playing the Field. And Playing the Field is a sports fan community and dating app. We want to give sports fans an easier platform to go and find other sports fans for any social reason at all, whether it's to find a romantic interest or to find a friend to just, go to a game with, or to, put together a, pickup softball league, recreational softball league, flag football, pickup basketball, whatever the case is. Anything social you could do with sports, which you can name a lot of different things, even if it's a fantasy football league as well. We want to give people an easier platform to go and connect with other like-minded and that share the same lifestyle as each other. And, as far as Fan Experience TV, it got its start last year when sports were not being played. People were not allowed to go to the ballpark. And it's just something about going to the games and the atmosphere and the relationship that you form with the people, complete strangers next to you. And we really just wanted an outlet to talk to like-minded people about really just sports, their love of sports. Rick, you could chime in here.
Yeah, I'm Rick Molina. I'm the co-host of Fan Experience TV. And it's like, so in July, every year, Mike is the commissioner of the fantasy football league that we have. And last year, because of COVID, I wasn't sure if there's going to be a league. I don't know. So I was like, I'm not sure we're going to do it. We got to talking, and I don't know how it came up about a podcast. I don't know if I was thinking maybe to do one. I know Mike was thinking of doing one, and Mike was like, you want to just do one together? And I was like, sure. And literally went out, got like laptops and earbuds. I was doing the show off my hamper, like the first episode off my hamper. And that's how it kind of started. Then evolved as TV. As we started doing the show, I kept thinking to myself, prime time at night, and I said to Mike, I was like, this is more of a TV show. I think you should just change the titling to Fan Experience TV. It just has this ring to it. And it's a place where we can come and talk sports freely. I think it unites people. I mean, I know obviously we're all locked up with COVID and everything, but it's just a way to just talk about sports. And we've learned so much in the last almost a year now. I mean, we're at 80 episodes, 81, what it is. So many sports entrepreneurs, people's experiences. It's kind of like, everybody kind of has a different experience, but it's just been a pleasure to do and meet people like you, Matt, and Denise, and to share those sports experiences. It's just been an incredible journey so far.
Yeah, there's a lot of sharing of guests, and I'll be honest. I tell you people who I think would be great guests for your show, and I find people on your show that I find fascinating stories, and invite them to come on here and hopefully get a little bit of a different flavor. I like to think of the Wolff Den as like a talk show. We kind of we just kind of talk about whatever happens to be. I love that you guys have the sports talk. If I had a co-host, I would probably do something like that. Talk about, have an episode and just talk about, hey, what's going on in the sports world, what's going on in the movies and music, because I love talking about all of that stuff. How did you guys meet each other? How do you know each other?
Well, so I'll go. I worked with his cousin like when I was in college years ago. His cousin Alexandra, that's how we met. We worked at the gym together, and we were friends for a while. And I got invited to a game with a couple of my friends, and Mike was there with his buddies. And it was a rain delay, so we all had to go into like the Caesars Lounge. Remember, Mike? We were like all packed in there, and we just started talking or whatever. And then he's like, "Hey, you ever do fantasy football?" And I was like, "Well, I haven't been good in the league," but he's like, "Well, I'm going to start one up if you want to be in on it." Sure. And 11 years later, we've been doing the same league, and that's how we pretty much met.
That's a good story. Let's talk about your sports background. Where'd you grow up? Who'd you root for? Where'd you go to college? Give us like a little bit of a pecking order of teams or interest in sports. I know because I listened to you, and obviously you're wearing a Knicks
There it is.
This is my boy Keegan Brown joining us. Thanks for the support. Keegan, 14 years old, doing moto racing. He's
nice.
Just turned 14.
Just go for it, Keegan.
He'd be a great guest for your show too.
Yeah. Definitely hit us up, and we'll definitely get that going. But if you wanted your own show, just go for it. Yeah. That's the only thing we could say. Go on StreamYard and
just do it.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Go, whatever it is.
You're podcasting like a maniac over here.
All right, so give us
all right, so let's go. I guess I'll start it off. So yeah, I grew up. I was born and raised in Queens. For my young life, and went to Mets games, a bunch. Played Little League, but the Mets are really the thing that really drew me into sports, and just the atmosphere, and obviously going with my dad and my brother, and things like that, and just getting those pretzels and hot dogs and all that when you're a kid, and then as I get older, I would go to the games by myself, and it just took on a different feel. I did not. I ended up moving out to Long Island when I was 12. I never liked football at all, but when I was like 21, I took a hold onto football, and then I never let it go. To be completely honest, like I started, the first year I started watching football, I went and joined a fantasy football league, and it made the game so much more enjoyable, and really haven't looked back since. And
you're Jets,
I'm Jets.
Yeah. And college.
Correct.
You're not a huge college fan. Obviously you're a sports fan. You like all of it.
Yeah. I'm not really big on college football, and you asked where I went to college, and it was really just like a small little college over here in Long Island, just really to focus on learning and not really on the partying side of things like some other colleges. But yeah, because it's not really a big college football area, I never really took to college teams too much. But that is one of my goals for this this coming year.
What about Wayne Corbett, Hofstra? Shout out to Hofstra.
Right. Yeah. Colston too, but I guess I'll let Rick take that one because he knows a little bit more about it.
Real quick, is it if you have to stop Mets or Jets, what are you picking?
The Mets.
Your Mets are your number one.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, Rick.
Yeah,
that's why I like you so much, Matt. You got the blue and orange on your logo. I know it's for a different reason, but
I actually had a pillow that we created that had a Knicks, Mets, and Broncos, and that was those were the teams I really rooted for. I rooted for the Nets also, but growing up, those were kind of my teams until I picked some other teams. But Rick, obviously Knicks. You're wearing the Knicks.
I'm a diehard Knicks fan. I bleed the blue and orange. I remember the first Knicks game I ever heard. I heard it on the radio was. I think it was the 92 playoffs with the Knicks and the Bulls, and I fell in love with the Knicks. Since then I never missed a game. Obviously in the 21st century, obviously in the last 10, like since Dolan's had the team, like I obviously follow the team, but not as religiously as I do now. But it's obviously the Knicks. Then in the 90s, obviously the Yankees. I'm a huge Yankee fan, but in the 90s and the 2000s, obviously the Yankees, and then the Jets are my other love. Like like Mike, I can't, like, every day I'm watching Bleacher Report, Pro Football Talk, you know, following. I mean, I watched every pick of the draft, for God's sakes. Like, I'm a devoted New York Jets fan through and throughout. That team, it's like, for me, it's Knicks and Jets are 1-1A, and then followed by the Yankees and obviously the Rangers. So, but that's where I go.
You know, football is an interesting sport because, you know, there's so few games. It's all on the same day. It's much easier to follow. It's easier to go. It's easier to watch all the games. I mean, I have friends who watch. I have a diehard Yankee friend who will watch. I can't even tell you, a lot. Probably in the 3 digits of how many Yankees games he'll watch. Not go to, but watch. And that's a hell. I mean, look, I love the Gators, but I struggle to watch all of their basketball games. It's just
it's a lot.
It's a lot, and that's only 2 a week. So it's tough. You know, let's say, and we'll talk a bunch of sports when I join your show. We'll talk about what's going on. Do you have a favorite player? Who's your favorite players from these teams?
So obviously for the Jets, we're rebuilding the whole team, but Mekhi Becton, Zach Wilson, I like the kid Elijah Moore that they drafted. On the Knicks, I'm a big Obi Toppin fan. Like, a lot of people sleep on him. I like Obi. I like IQ, Emmanuel Quigley. I like him, and Derrick Rose, obviously. But those two, IQ and Toppin, for me, on the Knicks.
They booed Toppin. I mean, they don't. You know, the fan. You go to the draft, whether it's basketball or football. These fans don't know anything.
No, man. I think he's just. I think with Tibbs, they're playing that sort of slow-paced basketball, and Obi's got to be up and down on the floor, dunking and flying right now. He's just sitting in the corner drinking a beer, waiting to shoot a 3. So hopefully next year it'll be different for him. But he's coming out of his shell now, which is cool.
I think they're about, you know, when you start looking at young players in the future, the Knicks, the Suns, right? The Suns are in there.
Yeah.
Those are some real. They got some good core, and we got to, you know, you got to see what happens. They got to build. But
around Devin Booker over there, yep.
They're having a hell of a year.
Yeah, the 2 seed over there in the West. It's great.
Yeah. They didn't make playoffs, right? Both teams didn't make playoffs. Were terrible last year, and now they're, you know,
coaching matters. For those of you out there, coaching matters.
It's amazing the turnaround that, you know, that the Knicks are on, and it's exciting. You know, it's definitely something that we haven't seen in quite a while. So,
Mike, who are your favorite players for your team?
So, you know, currently, you know, I would have to go with Jacob deGrom on the Mets. You know, unfortunately, he's a little injured right now, but everything looks like it's going to be okay. But all time on the Mets, Edgardo Alfonso.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, he just that's when I really, you know, first started following the team for the most part, and, you know, really old enough to understand what was going on. And, you know, it's just something about Edgardo Alfonso and the way he played. And, you know, 13 is my favorite number. I mean, partly to him, I'm sure. But it was always fun to watch him play in, you know, those 90s years there. And I love Bobby V, and he was running for mayor now too.
Bobby V is. I just posted Bobby V because there was something on Twitter with, you know, trying to pretend I think it was with Trump when he tried to create like a new account on Twitter when he knew he was banned.
Yeah.
So I posted the Bobby V picture of him.
The mustache one?
As a reply to that. And he's like, that's a pretty good reference. He's ridiculous. Great coach, manager, but he's ridiculous. Number 3, that's my favorite number. And it's because of Dale Ellis, who's my all-time favorite basketball player. Big X-Man fan too. And he played with the Knicks, right? So you go from, and they used to have some battles, man. Him and Oak used to have some battles.
Some serious battles down there.
So let's talk a little bit about the Fan Experience TV, and then we'll talk a little bit more about playing the field. But you guys got some production here. Obviously, a lot of it is StreamYard, right? The StreamYard app. But you've come a long way since the beginning of the first episodes until now, where it's you know, you got it down. You got some pretty good background. It's a really cool look, a good brand. You know, how did you get there?
Thank you very much. You know, it's all about, you know, getting 1% better every day and just never just sitting and being content with what we got. And it took a lot to get episode 1 going. And our guest was phenomenal in episode 1. But like Rick was taping it on a hamper, that was probably, aside from the guest, that was probably the best thing that we could say about episode 1.
Yeah.
Like, we were raw. It was actually, me and Rick, went back and forth a couple of times for like, little rehearsals and whatnot before we went live, but we never interviewed a guest. So that was our first guest right there, episode 1. And, you could tell, like, when we watch ourselves, well, at least when I watch myself, but then looking at the graphics behind it and the background, it honestly makes me want to vomit. And I guess from that, I just wanted to keep trying to spice it up as much as possible. And, just up until recently, then I created these graphics to put behind us, and we just got a green screen behind us, and then we're just rolling and making the best of this, virtual world that we were living in. And obviously now things are opening up again, and we hope to have it in a studio someday soon. But we're making we're making ends meet with what the resources that we have, and just keep trying to get better.
That'd be really cool to have a studio show. I think I don't know if we have a misunderstanding here, but we were talking about X-Men.
Yeah,
Xavier McDaniel.
But I agree, X-Men all day too.
I think
I like the X-Men too.
I think my brother had like one of the first X-Men comics. Like we used to read comics, wow. And I think he had like issue 1 or 2 or 3 or something crazy like that. What made you guys decide to? Well, first of all, I think that the talking part between you two is harder than interviewing a guest. Now, I agree with you. If you look at my earlier episodes, you get to feel a little bit more comfortable with guests. And but the talking, like when I have to try and talk by myself, unscripted, it's very difficult. I usually, when someone cancels, I'm like 5 minutes and that's it. I'm off, because it's just, I have so much to say, but it's not structured. You don't have someone to bounce off of to kind of ask you. It's it's easy for me to give answers, but just to kind of talk about stuff. What made you guys decide to do 2 days, right? Where'd you come up with 2? Why Tuesday and Thursday? And how'd you decide to do a little bit of sports talk and a little bit of guests?
Well, I think when we first started it, we were trying to just think of days and just availability, and just Tuesdays and Thursdays kind of worked. And so we just kind of went with that. And then as we started the show, we wanted to have an opening, and me and Mike discussed it. And it just kind of felt like pretty simple, right? Like we have an opening, kind of give our little opening monologue, what's going on out there, give our opinions, and then that'll lead us into our guest, and then talk to our guest, talk about their experiences, go there. And then we wanted to finish the show with kind of like a sort of news and notes, kind of like a, just like small things that are happening in the world of sports, but like funny stuff, oh, we heard about, what's going on here or there. And now it's evolved where we have like kind of a monologue, like we have like what we're going to start the show with. It leads into our interview, and then sort of on the back end of it, we kind of, finish it off with like touching base on not so much like, let's say, like funny stuff, which we do, but like we want to just give our, keep sort of the dialogue going on the show. And as the show is evolving, I keep telling Mike, I want to start having some like feedback from viewers and like take their input and kind of just bounce that off. But when we first started it to now, that's just kind of how it's really naturally kind of evolved that way.
Yep.
Well, I love PTI. That's my favorite sports show to watch or listen to. If I was doing a show like this, I would probably do it in that kind of format, which I think is great. I hate First Take. It's just, it's old and tired, and and I know there's a show with Skip.
Oh, Undisputed.
Yeah, I mean it's not great, and I think it's not that they're not smart people and they not knowledgeable about sports. I just and it gets tired. Same with the I like when people don't agree on things. I like when they genuinely. I don't want to be a yes man. I'll disagree with you on a ton of things in sports all day long. That's what's great about sports. But just to argue just for the sake of argument and yelling at each other, I'm not a big fan. What do you have any inspiration for the shows that you do? Do you watch stuff that you like?
Well, I listen to sports talk radio. Pretty much on my commute in and out of work every day. So at least I listen to, usually it's Boomer and Gio, and then Carton and Roberts in the afternoon, just to really just get brushed up on the current events a little bit, and obviously I read up on Bleacher Report and ESPN and the like. But really just, and I also after the episode, me personally, I go in and I use a service called Descript, and I transcribe the whole thing, and it shows me where we're throwing in like filler words like and like and and I try to like mentally write that out of my repertoire, and I mean it goes, it's a little give and take. Like some weeks I do better than others, and some weeks I do worse, but I just have to keep trying to be cognizant of it, and just it's funny because if you asked me this time last year if I was going to host a podcast, not only just a podcast but live in living color 2 nights a week on video, and it's just, I would have called you crazy. I really would have, because I was an introvert's introvert up until like a year and a half ago, and then playing the field and networking with people like yourself and a lot of other amazing people, and just got more comfortable, and I just dove in the deep end. a live TV show instead of just this audio podcast that I can do anonymously.
Yeah. How about you, Rick? Any inspiration? Any shows that you really
I'm with you on the sort of like the First Take and the Undisputed. I think the format is just kind of like, it's repetitive, it's monotonous. It's kind of boring. I mean, I'm like with Mike. I listen to Boomer and Gio, but I try to have, like, I look at our show as more of like we're pretty in depth. Like when we talk, like our opinions are pretty serious. We're pretty in depth. Like I think we're well prepared when we speak. So I don't know. I don't see it as like a First Take or something like that. Tony Kornheiser and Charles Wilbon, PTI. I don't see it a lot. I used to watch it when I was younger, but I don't watch it a lot anymore. But like for me, like obviously I guess the Boomer and Carton before that, I used to listen to that all the time because it's also entertaining, because I look at us as like entertaining, like we're trying to entertain our viewers. Yeah. So I kind of like look at that sort of show as like our guide in a way.
I like to try and you got to throw a little humor and you need a little bit. I love the live aspect of it. To me, I wouldn't even think about recording something, and live is where it's at for me. I grew up in New Jersey. I was a Mike and the Mad Dog and Imus.
I love Imus. I used to listen to him every morning, man.
He knows his stuff.
Yeah.
He knows his stuff. Yeah, he's got some weird opinions. And then Mike and the Mad Dog,
Horse religion. Yeah.
That's what we used to do. We don't have a whole lot of time here. Usually I have an hour to talk to everyone. So let's get through a few things quickly before we
rapid fire.
Yeah. Give me your Mount Rushmore of either baseball or you can just give me some Mount Rushmore, either of all sports, of baseball, of football. It could be who you think is the 4 best ever. It could be your 4 favorites. Just give me a Mount Rushmore.
Well, I guess if we're talking anybody, obviously you got to put Jordan on there. Hate to say it, but you got to put Brady there. You have to put, hate to say this one too, but Jeter. And I guess let's go hockey. I mean, you have to go Gretzky.
Yeah, Jeter's an interesting one. I don't think a lot of people are going to have him, but it's not a bad choice.
Yeah,
obviously them winning all those championships, like he was a big part of that.
Yeah,
Rush for me, basketball clearly Michael Jordan because I grew up in that era. Obviously, I also think LeBron James just because what he's done over the course of his career. Football, obviously Brady, and I put Floyd Mayweather up there as a Mount Rushmore because what he's done for boxing in terms of like not only like what he did, but on the business side of it, what he did to it, entertainer, and he opened the doors up for like sort of like these characters to come out, the McGregors and the Logan Pauls, which you see now. I think is an evolution from Floyd Mayweather, so I put him up there.
We did a ticket for Tyson Jones, and we're hoping to do a ticket for Mayweather's fight coming up soon. So,
against Logan Paul.
Give me a favorite sports moment for you that you've seen live, and then give me a bucket list event that something on your bucket list that you haven't done.
Saw live. I was at Game 2, the Twins and the Yankees, and I think it was 2004. I saw A-Rod hit like a double in the 10th. So like I don't know if they won the game. I think they won the game, but I remember watching that live at that playoff game. My first playoff game I ever went. I paid $125 for a ticket. I'm sitting in like the up in the nosebleeds, and I saw that. And then bucket list. I'd love to go to the Daytona 500. Love to go to a Super Bowl and an NBA Finals.
We just talked to NASCAR today. We're hoping to get something.
Nice.
And the guy is in charge. He's kind of part of the marketing for Daytona. I went to all the Marlins Yankees World Series games.
Oh.
Got a ticket for $10. Well, that's another story. We'll talk
about. My best one live, June 11th, 2005. Yes, I know the date. It's Angels at Shea Stadium against the Mets. It was just saw everything, I mean, it was highlighted by the fact that I went to Shea Stadium for like 8 years and never saw the apple come up. So it was like on an 8-year drought of not seeing a Mets home run. So it was pretty frustrating. And then the first one I did see was an inside the Parker off of one of the best closers at the time in Francisco Rodriguez, and a walk-off in the 10th inning really just, put the icing on the cake. You pretty much the game had everything: robbed home runs, inside the Parkers, walk-off wins, stolen bases with the pitcher holding the ball. So it was quite the experience. I never left my seat once, and that's the only game in my entire life that I've never left my seat once.
That's not frequent for baseball. I got a ton of questions, but I got to get you out of here.
Yeah.
Yes, the same question we ask everyone. You can pick anyone in the world to meet and hang out for a day. They have to be living. You can't be related to them. Who is it, and what are you guys going to do? We're going to put this on the list, and we're going to try and make it happen for our guests.
Oh, wow. Rick, you take it because I don't know.
I want to meet J-Lo.
J-Lo?
Yeah. Really?
What do you think about her back hanging out with Affleck?
Look, man, I think sometimes you revert back to the mean, and, when you're alone and somebody calls and says hi, listen, they've earned it. Why not? We
need playing the field for celebrities and athletes.
Yes, there we go.
Because they don't know what – I mean, there's so much celebrity stuff that's – it's not going to last. It's let's get some meaningful relationships going with people who need it. Mike, what would you like to do with J-Lo? I mean,
just chill, man. Go to the beach, hang out, a couple of drinks, kind of pick her. She's a New York girl. She kind of came from nowhere, really just built herself out of nowhere. Just curious to hear of her journey. Like, if that's somebody I wouldn't mind interviewing for our show, like to hear the journey, like where it started to where you're now.
Mike, who are you picking?
Honestly, I can't go with anybody else but just Michael Jordan, because it's just, my whole young life. What?
Golf and hoops?
Yes.
And cigars.
Hey, and some baseball.
Yeah, got to get to baseball. We got about 20 seconds left here.
Yeah, in a couple of seconds, we'll talk about some, some multi-sport players in just a few moments.
What's the best sports movie?
Major League.
Sandlot.
Major League, Sandlot. Join us on the Field Experience TV, on Fan Experience TV. We'll see you right over there.
Part2.fanexperience.live.
Part 2. We'll see you there.
All right.